Hello and welcome to Data Sunrise demo. In this demo, we will see how we can audit applications that connect through Data Sunrise in the proxy mode and how we can audit sensitive objects in the database instance. So Data Sunrise can run in three modes, and in this time, we'll talk about how Data Sunrise can work in the proxy mode. So in the proxy mode, there are a lot of advantages. For example, Data Sunrise can block different queries and sessions and DDoS attack and so on. But since we are talking about database activity monitoring and audit rules, which can be part of the audit policy, monitoring policy, Data Sunrise can also provide us with an advantage to store query results, not only the queries and session information. Now, let me show you my audit rules. Here's my database instance. I've configured this database instance, PostgreSQL, which is running on my virtual machine. And here's a rule enabled in my Data Sunrise. Let's check it what's inside. In the action subsection of this rule, I'm going to log events in the storage. So my transactional trails will be filled with events if the rule is triggered. Additionally, I'm going to log bind variables and save query results if the rule is triggered into the audit storage of Data Sunrise. So please bear in mind that Data Sunrise instance can operate with internal SQLite audit storage, which is good for just simple trials. But if we work in the production environment, for sure that we need to work any external database instance. This supports a lot of such database engines, starting from PostgreSQL, MySQL, and MS SQL. And additionally, Data Sunrise has different options to depersonalize queries. If some queries include, for example, passwords, so Data Sunrise can eliminate the value of the password and replace them with stars or question marks. And then keep checking the rules of queries. If we have several rules, the Data Sunrise can trigger multiple times if the query or session requires triggering multiple rules, right? So also we can work with CM systems, and such as security information event management systems can be filled with events from Data Sunrise that can act as an agent, right, as a client to such systems. So you don't need to install any additional software on the server with Data Sunrise, right? And additionally, you can configure subscribers, so-called, to send alerts to your mobile phone or maybe to your Slack or WhatsApp and Jira and so on. There are many channels or subscribers types that you can use with Data Sunrise. So in this particular example, I don't use any filter sessions. It means that every single session connected to the database server through Data Sunrise will be included. If you want to specifically include some sessions that have some parameters, like for example, an application name in the session field, or some database users, or some host from some IP address and so on, that we can do that. But in this case, right, just to bear in mind that it's possible to do that. Data Sunrise can work with different statements, so-called. So there are 5 tabs here, and each of them is dedicated to a specific type of statements. One of them is connected to DML statements. Well, these are object group tab, right? Query groups you can use if you want to work with different applications and their typical queries. And query types connected to different types of the database engine queries and statements like create user, drop database, and so on. So this type is dedicated to SQL injection, attack, and monitoring of this attack and alerting if you decided to use a CM system or alerting with subscribers. And the session events connected to the detecting of DDoS attack and notifying regarding such a possible event. Right. Now let's talk about the specifically this object group that I've selected here. So all select, update, delete, insert statements should be monitored by this rule. And I'm going to process tables from the object group. right? There are two options here. We are going to process current rule and some objects, or we can work with specific object group. Object group can be compiled by using data discovery feature, and then you can have this object group filled with sensitive objects. Okay, if you want to do this work manually, if you want to fill this list of objects, okay, then you can do that with the configuration and object group right here. Here's my object group. And I have here several objects detected during the sensitive data discovery. Maybe some of them we need to exclude because they are fault positive, right? But some of them definitely are sensitive objects I want to leave here to monitor, right? Some of them include job title, SSN, last name, address. ID probably is just a relationship. Okay. Now, okay, so this is a list of my sensitive objects. And this particular list of objects I can select from the database instance and save. Right. Okay, this list of objects is ready. Let's make sure this is a name I included here in my rule. Okay, this is PG sensitive data. How we can test that I can monitor accessing of these objects by we select, delete, and search with DML statements, in other words, and when my objects are affected by queries. What we can do that? How we can do that? So here's my application that I use called Manager of Customers, and this Manager of Customers works through data sunrise in the proxy mode. When I refresh the page in the web browser or go to every single item here, I'm trying to, for example, update it, right? This will be update statement, okay. Data sunrise should detect this attempt, right? Another thing is if some DBA team member tries to access sensitive objects, and this DBA team member can use different DBA tools, right? In my example, I will use the Beaver application, and in this case, I'm connected to the data sunrise in the proxy mode, and then data sunrise provides access to the database instance. Right now, we see that the customers and customers' passwords are included in the list of my objects I want to monitor. So if I'll try to access any of them, data sunrise should detect that these sensitive objects are affected. Okay, and password. So this is just an example of application. Like this is an example of a DBA team member who accesses the sensitive objects. So let's see what's happened in my data sunrise instance. Okay, I switch back to my data sunrise web UI, and on my audit rules, there is my rule. Well, how we can see the results of my queries and see them when they triggered, I can find them here on the transactional trails. Every time a rule triggers, it produces me an entry here in the transactional trails. So I can see here the select statement, well, and the update statement here as well. I executed from my customer's application. So if I'll drill down here to this item, I can find the details of this event. And here's the query type, is select statement. And the select statement itself was generated by my Manager of Customers application. Additionally, I can find here the objects involved in this query as a graph, and the query results since I checked in the box to save query results. Well, some citation is required. Well, when there is an update statement, and if we click here, I see there's a query type is update, transaction is committed, okay, there is no error. And I produce this update statement, right? And objects involved in the query also is here. Well, when my Beaver application executed some select statement from my customers table, we can find it here. The application was detected. It's Beaver 2215, The client host is also detected, the query type is detected, and we see here the query that was generated by the beaver, and the same is a list of objects and query results. So we can see that DataSonar is a very powerful tool that we can use to monitor activity from our applications and from any DBA tool like the Beaver or other type of applications. Thank you for watching.